Over 150 moons orbit the solar system's planets, and one of those moons calls Earth home. To nearly everyone, the moon appears to be a sterile, grey, unchanging world. The moon was formed about 4.5 billion years ago when, according to one theory, the Earth slammed into another early planet. Debris from those collisions began to orbit Earth and accumulated, forming today's moon. The moon is the fifth largest natural satellite in the solar system with a diameter just under the width of China. It is composed of an iron-rich core plus a mantle and crust containing minerals made of magnesium, oxygen and
The
silicon.
moon's surface was once geologically active and covered in an ocean of magma. But today, apart from traces of water ice, the surface is completely covered in dust and rocky debris. Countless craters dot the moon's surface, each formed by objects such as meteoroids, comets, and asteroids crashing onto the moon. The largest crater, the South Pole Aitken Basin, spans across a quarter of the moon's surface and is nearly deep enough to fit Mount Everest inside.
The moon orbits our planet at an average distance of 30 Earths. It rotates at the same rate that it revolves around our planet. The same side of the moon faces the Earth at all times.
From Earth's surface, we can observe 8 distinct traditionally recognized stages of the moon's illumination called lunar phases. They have been observed for thousands of years and even provided the basis for the earlier calendars.
For most of the human history, the moon could only be studied from afar. But on July 20, 1969, humans were able to close the distance with the American spaceflight mission Apollo 11. It placed humans on the moon for the very first time, bringing our understanding of Earth's only natural satellite one step closer.
Activity on the sun's surface creates a type of weather called space weather.
The sun is really far away, about 93 million miles or 150 million kilometers from Earth. At its worst, it can even damage satellites and cause electrical blackouts on Earth.
How can space weather travel all the way to the Earth?
The gas and particles come from the sun's hot atmosphere called the corona. These particles from the corona are charged with electricity. The solar wind carries these particles towards Earth at up to 1,000,000 miles per hour.
What protects us from space weather?
Our magnetic field and atmosphere act like superheroes' shield, protecting us from majority of the solar wind blast.
Can space weather be harmful?
Yes, sometimes magnetic activity within the sun causes intense solar storms. The solar wind gets much stronger during these storms. Strong solar wind can be dangerous.
Okay, how can we know the daily space weather?
Space agencies operate a collection of instruments that keep an eye on the sun and space weather. You can check the space weather forecast just like you might check the weather forecast.
Have scientists seen changes in the intensity of space weather?
On a short time scale, the intensity of space weather is always changing. Conditions can be mild one minute and stormy the next. On longer time scales, space weather varies with the solar cycle. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and solar energetic particles all increase in frequency as we get closer to solar maximum. High-speed wind streams are more frequent at solar minimum, thus ensuring that space weather is something to watch for no matter where we are in the solar cycle.
Now, let's have a look at some spectacular facts about the moon. Super blue blood moon. A blue moon and lunar eclipse combined with the moon being at its closest point to Earth, a supermoon results in a super blue blood moon. January 31st, 2018 is the last time when this rare celestial event graced our skies.
Supermoon is a near or full moon that occurs when the moon is near perigee, the point in the moon's orbit where it is closest to Earth. On the night of a supermoon, the moon appears 14% larger and 30% brighter than a full moon at apogee, and they are surprisingly rare. Scientific name for supermoon is periodicity of the Earth-Moon-Sun system.
Blue moon. It is the rare celestial event when two full moons occur in one month. It is called a blue moon. Blue moons that are blue are incredibly rare but are a result of atmospheric conditions. Volcanic ashes and smoke, water droplets in the air, or certain types of clouds can all contribute to a full moon taking on a blue shade. It's a fairly infrequent phenomenon since there is roughly 29.5 days between full moons. On average, a blue moon occurs about once every 2.7 years.
Blood moon happens when Earth's moon is in a total lunar eclipse. During a full eclipse, however, something spectacular happens. The moon is fully in Earth's shadow. At the same time, a little bit of light from Earth's sunrises and sunsets falls on the surface of the moon. Because the light waves are stretched out, they look red. When this red light strikes the moon's surface, it also appears red. How red the moon appears can depend on how much pollution, cloud cover, or debris there is in the atmosphere.
May's full moon, known as the flower moon, will be a supermoon. As the lunar phase coincides with our satellite's closest approach to Earth, it also coincides with the only total lunar eclipse of the year, earning it in the moniker superflower blood moon. It was last happened on May 26, 2021.
Just like everything that glitters is not gold, similarly, everything that shines in the sky are not stars. In fact, these small dots you see are junky space debris.
Space debris, a collection of useless man-made and natural objects that are slipping into the Earth's orbit like broken satellites, empty pocket pieces of metal, etc.
So, how it accumulated? Unfortunately, we don't have any control over the natural debris accumulating about the. But what about man-made junks? The satellites that escape the gravitational orbit, tools and equipments left behind in space by astronauts during the mission, etc. These collide each other and form smaller junks, increasing the weight.
Really hazardous. It is generally harmless until and unless it collided into something else orbiting in space. It can even damage any rockets or spacecrafts that bump into them.
Missions. Scientists are experimenting to build a test satellite named Clean Space 1 for removing it. They also plan to develop devices that could burn it up right there or bring back the leftovers.
Moon Landing Day is celebrated on July 20th, which commemorates the day when man first walked on the moon in 1969. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 carried the first humans to the moon. 6 hours after landing on the moon, American Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and he was soon followed by Buzz Aldrin.
And 52 years ago, Neil Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. Armstrong and Aldrin walked around for about 3 hours conducting experiments, while the third astronaut, Michael Collins, remained in the command module waiting for Armstrong and Aldrin to return. The two men collected 47.5 pounds of lunar material, and finally they returned safely on Earth on July 24th.
Actually, why did the astronauts land on moon? It was not only due to the urge to explore and satisfy the scientific curiosity, but the main driving force behind this Apollo program was the space race between the United States and the former Soviet Union. The Apollo 11 mission was a great leap for space research, and it's still one of the most inspiring moments in human history.